So that's my little lizard friend. I hope you can see him. He has been hanging out with me here on these rocks as I've been contemplating what I'm going to tell you in today's video about my dream last night, which was an alien contact dream. Now, before I start going into that, I know that everyone who watches my videos does not necessarily know my history with this type of thing. I am what's commonly called a contactee. That's one of the things that I am, and I have had contact with off-planet beings ever since I was a little girl. And I wrote about it in my books, and there were lots of similarities between contactees, which often we contactees don't even know until we've been having it happen for years and years. I mean, for instance, I wasn't allowed to watch any type of paranormal or esoteric media as a kid because my family was very religious, fundamentally Christian, and I wasn't allowed to watch anything even remotely just run-of-the-mill kind of stuff. And so I didn't really know what an alien looked like or anything, and my mom asked me to draw my imaginary friends who I talked to all the time, and they were aliens, and I used to freak my parents out by drawing pictures of these things, and I wasn't afraid of them or anything. It's just what I drew because they were around. Anyway, that's only one of the many things I could tell you, and I don't think that that's the point. You know, I don't think that the ET thing is really what the biggest thing we should be focusing on is. What I feel about off-planet buddies is that, and granted I know some people have had negative experiences, I'm pretty sure I've had both, positive and negative ones, not with the same groups, and majority-wise mine have been extremely positive, like very, very good interactions. And so the way I feel about it is that we on this planet are like indigenous people on an island, and space being... What? Whoa. Maybe you guys could see what that bird is doing. I couldn't see it. Anyway, whew. So we're like indigenous people on an island, assuming that because we don't know how to cross the ocean, that it's impossible and no one can do it. So when we talk about how many light years away stuff is, well, obviously, if they're zipping around, then they've figured out a way to travel that's faster than the speed of light. Like, to me, that just seems like simple logic. And it's like I say to some people sometimes, if you assume you already know all there is to know, then that kind of sucks for your future self, huh? Because you're never going to learn anything new. And we've only even had the type of technology we now use for barely 100 years, so we're still in the absolute infancy of what is possible. So anyway, it's silly to think that other beings can't cross the ocean just because we can't cross the ocean, and they maybe haven't been crossing the ocean for a very long time. and that this is not a new thing at all, and media on this is very popular nowadays, so I won't go into all of the details about how it's possible and what it could have looked like for them to come visit us, and different proof that's hanging out that could have been leavings of theirs or people describing interactions with otherworldly beings. And I don't mean multidimensional. Well, kind of do, because they kind of are, but I'm digressing. Anyway, so I have had dream contact with them before. I do have meditative contact with them, as well as contact with multidimensional beings like angels or entities or fairies, stuff on the planet, because it's all kind of the same once you start expanding your bandwidth to be able to look at things not just in the three-dimensional light spectrum that we can see. Then you just kind of start touching on a bunch of stuff, and it just keeps growing. I find out the new things I didn't think were real are real about a few times a year. A whole other class of beings that I thought were imaginary will all of a sudden show up, and there I am having to interact with something that I didn't believe in until I'm interacting with it. So, speaking of the lizard, as I was going over the video, going over my dream, I saw this guy, and lizards have been coming up a lot for me lately, and it's funny because there was what I think was a reptilian being in my dream. One of the beings was reptilian, and they get a bad rep. People who do believe in aliens are very prejudiced against reptilian beings, but I have met kind reptilian beings. Just because something's a reptilian doesn't mean it's negative. But on Earth, the symbolism of lizards is dreams. Pay attention to your dreams. So it's very interesting that I've had them come up, and then as I'm going to record this video, there's one sitting right there. So anyway, my dream was of me staying in this house somewhere, and outside the house are friends that are going to come in. So like people who are visiting me or something. There are a few people, and they're coming in, and there's a bear outside. And everyone's afraid of a bear, like this great big grizzly-sized bear, huge bear. And so they're running inside, and then the bear is standing right at the screen door, and I close the door on the bear, and the bear is just standing there, not trying to get in or anything. And so it's a very realistic dream, as real as talking to my little recording device right now. Anyway, so I close the door on the bear, go back inside, and then I turn around for some reason and realize that the bear is now not a bear. Now the bear is a woman, very tall, very muscular, very big, probably like 8 feet tall and full of muscle and very square kind of woman who had hair about a little longer than shoulder length, dark blonde or light brown. And I knew I could let her in. So I go and let her in, and she comes in, and she and I look at each other, and she had extremely deep eyes. I don't mean deep set, I mean intelligent and genius and emotionally evolved and very, very intense eyes. And so we look at each other, and we just started smiling and laughing. And it was, when you're dealing with intuition, a lot of times it's as if you know things, but you don't know them with your logical mind. Those of you who follow your intuition will know what I'm talking about here. You understand something, or something makes you laugh and you have no idea why. A lot of times when people tell me that they've had experiences with me, either on ships or in dreams, things like that, I get this funny feeling like I've been called out, or like they got the joke, even though my logical mind doesn't remember. And that's a validation for me. And in the dream, this is how I felt when I was looking at this woman. And we started laughing, and we hugged, and she picks me up off the ground, and she's really tall and really strong, so I'm like, my legs are like dangling, you know, like a little kid, and she's hugging me, and she's laughing and saying, "You're so small, you're so tiny, I can't believe how small you are," as if I'm not usually so small, right? As if she's used to me another way, which I found curious. And I was laughing too, because I thought it was funny too, for whatever reason. And then behind her come in a couple other people. There was a man, and I think this was a screen. I can kind of start feeling the difference. I can't see under the screen, and by screen I mean something appearing to you that isn't what it actually is. But he seemed like a thin, not quite as tall as her, but very tall, brunette man with kind of a sallow complexion, and he was kind of standoffish and nervous, and like we made him uncomfortable, like the humans made him uncomfortable, even though he looked human, but I didn't think he was. In retrospect, what my feelings tell me is that he was probably a reptilian being who didn't want to appear to be reptilian because of whatever, probably the racism against them. And also with them were a group of about 4 very small children, blonde girls that looked about 4 years old. They were 3 feet tall and change, maybe 4 feet tall. Well, no, not quite that tall, probably 3 feet tall and some inches. And they were very, very serious, and they were silent and stone-faced, and they came in, and 3 of them stood against the wall, and 1 stood over where we were. And me and the woman, the tall woman, are laughing and talking and kind of catching up. And although we didn't consciously know each other, but it was as if we did. And I'm asking her, eventually I just say, "You're not from here, are you? Like, you're not." It was nighttime outside, and I knew that she'd been walking around in the dark because you didn't want to be seen during the day. I said, you're not from this planet, are you?" And she said, "Of course I'm not." Clearly, you know, and we're both laughing. And I said, "Well, what's going on? Why are you here?" And she says, "Because we were passing through the area, and our ship got attacked, and so we had to land and do repairs." She didn't say who attacked it, what attacked it. She didn't say it got accidentally damaged. She said it got attacked. Didn't specify how. But she said they were here doing repairs. And so I said, "Oh, well, okay, you know, I might have asked her if there was anything she needed, but I don't think there was." And at one point I looked at this little girl who was standing by us, very serious. I mean, I'm talking straight up adult serious. This was not a little girl, even though she appeared to be one. And I said to her, "What do you really look like?" Terrified that she would change. Like, I definitely knew I didn't want her to actually, like, show me what she looked like. And she looked at me just as straight-faced as ever and said, "You're not ready." And I just laughed because she was totally right. I wasn't ready to see anything. And so I said, "Well, you know, I know. I thought maybe you could just tell me what you look like for real." And she just looked at me. She didn't even, oh, there goes the lizard. She didn't even respond. I guess she wasn't in a very jokey kind of mood. But even after I woke up, I thought that was hilarious. And so that's all that really happened. I think they left soon after that. And after waking up, I remembered that I had heard from a friend of mine who's made part of his life's work studying contactee and abductee stories that the whole interaction with these beautiful, blonde, model-looking creatures is kind of new. It's only in recent decades. Before that, whenever people would run into ETs that were human-looking, as opposed to like the Greys or reptilians or whatever else, they were very tall, very muscular, often blonde, really intense people. They weren't these supermodel-looking people. And so I was just laughing this morning because I had forgotten that. And then I dreamed it. Oh, and by the way, what I think the little girls were Greys. I think they were the small Greys. And so, yeah, that was my dream last night. It's, like I said, it's common for them to come to me in dreams. I've had several ET dreams over the years. Usually, I feel like I'm being monitored to see how I will react if I see them in the physical, because these are very realistic dreams when they have ETs in them. And so I don't know if they're going to show up physically. People have been asking me, well, a lot of people are having ET dreams lately, and there's a lot of sightings of UFOs, well, ships, because if they're identified, if you kind of know what they are, then they're less UFO-ish. Does that mean that we're going to have contact? Does that mean we're all going to be hanging out together and having tea? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. People have been having these experiences for hundreds, thousands of years, and there still aren't, Greys walking openly down our street wearing jeans. So I have no idea. But I did want to share this with you because I know a lot of people are having similar experiences, so I thought I would. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope all is great. Spring is here, and nature is loving it, and so am I. So have a great day. Go in peace, and I'll talk to you again very soon.